As you are watching your local on the 8th, we want to keep you up to date on the tornado outbreak that is occurring right now into the central and southern plains. We've had numerous reports of tornadoes in Kansas, even Nebraska.
And right now joining us on the phone, Sharon Watson with the Kansas Division of Emergency Management. And first off, thank you very much for joining us, Sharon. We understand you've activated the State Emergency Operations Center in Topeka. Will you tell us what that means?
And that means that our emergency management staff are going to be operating around the clock to monitor the situation. We'll be reaching out to county emergency managers, as we have been over the past day, working with the National Weather Service very closely to make sure we get information out quickly to the public. We've been urging the public since yesterday to start thinking about what they need to do in advance, and we're grateful for the warning from the National Weather Service this far in advance so that we can get that message out.
And Sharon, we just love the proactiveness of that yesterday, starting this whole event. Wondering right now if you're hearing any kind of reports of any damage. And we were showing a large wedge tornado just moments ago, just right now. Any reports of any kind of damage right now?
Yes, in certain counties in north central and portions of western Kansas, there have been a few reports of damage. Rush County, Russell County, and Hodgman County all reporting some damage, but minor damage for the most part as of what we know right now. But we know the worst could still be ahead of us.
So how does the rest of the day play out for you? What do you look for? What do you listen for throughout the rest of the evening?
We're monitoring radar and all of the major sources of information that we can, as well as we have people on the ground in various communities throughout the state, not only emergency management staff, but also National Guard members who are scouts for us. And so all of those different individuals feed us information. We continue to reach out for information as well and do our best to push out information to the public as quickly as we can to make sure they have the latest information to make the decisions on what they need to do.
Have any events been changed or rescheduled because of the event today?
We know that we've heard of various events around the state, schools making different changes for proms and different things like that. So it's best for organizations to be thinking about what can they do to protect their people, and we're glad to hear that some have been proactive in that way.
All right, Sharon Watson with the Kansas Division of Emergency Management, thank you for your time.
All right, we continue to see that tornado, large wedge tornado we saw on the ground earlier. Carl Parker joining us now with an update on the radar. And Carl, just about a warning on every supercell out there right now.
Yeah, the environment is unbelievable. When you think about the amount of wind that you've got in the upper levels of the atmosphere, this jet that's coming in the mid and upper levels is going to be well over 100 miles an hour, and that's what gets that shear going. Now, here's the storm that occurred in Langley, Kansas just moments ago. What you're looking at here is a large wedge tornado. If you can just make out the wall cloud as well, if you look off to the north edge of that wedge there, you see how it's sort of squared off. That is the actual mesocyclone. That's the wall cloud. That's the big tube that forms and spins within a rotating storm, and the tornado emanates from that. And then you've got that wedge shape there. And what's interesting about these large wedge tornadoes is a lot of times they actually break down. You don't see it when they're dark like that. There's a lot of cloud, or in some cases a lot of debris, but they'll break down into what we call multiple vortices. So you've actually got a series of tornadoes, maybe 4 or 5 tornadoes rotating about one another, and there's extreme violence within that when you think about it, because you've got very rapidly changing wind motions in a very short period of time. When you get one tornado coming through and another one coming through, the winds are going to change direction very quickly, and that can cause an awful lot of damage. Here's a look at the radar picture. You can see the watches that now extend from parts of central Kansas and up into Nebraska as well as into Iowa. String of warnings now west of 35, and as we've said, these have been in largely rural areas but are now beginning to get over towards 35 in the 70 corridor. Salina, we're watching this storm that appears to want to travel to the south of that area. So this big core is going to come up into Salina, but the tornadic part of the storm is the southwest side of the cell, and that is likely going to pass to the south of Salina but could come very close to Smoky View. That is the cell that produced that large wedge tornado. So heads up on that. Please take cover immediately if you're in the path of that storm. Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you, Carl. And now we want to continue our team coverage right now with Storm Tracker Jim Cantor. He's live in Lincoln, Nebraska. And Jim,
Yeah, hey, Chris, it's been certainly a busy day here in Lincoln, Nebraska, as we've watched really what was supposed to be just really a fun day for people. The red-white football game here, the spring football game at Memorial Stadium, canceled. And we understand this may be the first time since 1950, since its inception, we drove out 60,000 fans. But that's a good thing, because even though we didn't get a tornado, we had tons and tons of rain and thunder and lightning, enough so that even we drove ourselves back into the truck to get out of harm's way and through here. Now, we're watching another storm just to my southwest in Beatrice. That's coming up this way. We can hear the thunder with it. We can see the darkening skies, so we may once again escape indoors as well as that one comes on through. But this first wave of rain has mainly produced a widespread flood event. We've had about 1 to 4 inches of rain, and that has now moved on, thank goodness. But what's to come, again, guys, is the main event, which is across Kansas, as we've been hearing about, and that's continuing to push on to the northeast. The governor has opened the operations center here in Lincoln, and he's ready for whatever Mother Nature has to throw at him. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Jim. And of course, don't let your guard down just because we had all that heavy rain today in eastern Nebraska. The conditions could change here later on. And
we're already seeing what can happen, what's materialized today. We have video coming into the Weather Channel, and we can show you the fact that we have seen some of these storms. And we're looking here on the left. Once those trees pass, you will see a large tornado. And, if this was in an area like in a city, it would be doing major damage right now. A large wedge tornado reported earlier as it heads towards Salina, Kansas. Looks like it may be north of you or south of you in Salina. But please, if you're under a tornado warning, you need to take cover right now. Our team coverage continues here on this extended edition of Weather Center Live. We have live reports from Wichita, also Oklahoma City. Stay with us here on the Weather Channel. And if you're just joining us tonight, we want to bring you the new details on developing severe weather. This is a wedge tornado that was spotted around Langley, Kansas not too long ago. And we can see here on the horizon, you can see it going to where it's dark, goes all the way down on the horizon. Stormchasers are out there, and they are the professionals, so you leave it to them. Your job, if you're watching us from any of the areas in a tornado watch, tornado warned area, your job is to make sure you and your family are safe tonight. And Storm Prediction Center is now counting about 36 reports of tornadoes right now, and we're going to be expecting that number to increase even during the overnight hours. Here's the TORCON, the Tornado Condition Index that Dr. Forbes developed, and what we're looking at in the white area is a high-risk area of tornadoes. In some areas, we're actually forecasting a 9, which means a 90% chance of seeing a tornado within 50 miles of that location. And this is rare, seeing it this high at 9. A 7 also in eastern Nebraska and western Iowa, and to the southwest central Oklahoma, also a 7. All right, let's go on over to Dr. Forbes here in a second. I want to show you where the watches were, though, in a large area under tornado watches right now. And our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, has been tracking these storms. In fact, he's been forecasting this event all week long. We've been watching these storms develop. And now, Dr. Forbes, what are you seeing out there right now?
Well, you showed that video from a few moments ago, southwest of Salina. That storm has a tornado again, so we'll show you that coming up. That's this storm right in here. We're getting towards sunset, so you could see sort of shadows off the highest top storm, and that's this one. The storms extend all the way ahead of this yellow dry line in the Gulf of Mexico moisture from northwest Oklahoma up into the Omaha area, and another round there closer to the surface low in southwest Nebraska. So we'll start right in the big picture. Here's the storm southwest of Salina, other storms in southwest with tornado warnings on them in southwest Nebraska, one over southwest Iowa, several down now southwest of Wichita into Oklahoma. So we'll start with a storm close to Salina. It's going to go just south of Salina, but right now a large tornado being sighted near the Fallon area. That's heading toward these areas just south of Salina toward the Gypsum area. Show you that on the high resolution radar. Look how that spirals around. You can almost see a donut hole there, a red ring surrounded by lighter return in the middle. That's where the tornado is hiding inside that. In fact, let me see if we can see, sometimes in our dual pole radar, we can see the signature of that. See the greener colors around those lavender? That's probably debris sitting right inside the tornado right about there. So yes, indeed, there's a dual pole. Your tax dollars at work upgrading these radars. Then we'll jump up into the area just to the north and east of North Platte right now. Tornado warning heading toward the Stapleton area. A little bit farther to the south in Nebraska there, heading toward the area near Holdridge and the Elm Creek, the Kearney, Nebraska area, Doppler indicated. Then south of that storm there, Salina, farther south in Kansas, storm not too far away from the Hutchinson, the McPherson area, sliding a little bit farther yet to the south. Tornadoes heading toward the Kingman area of Kansas. the timelines you'll see in these black boxes showing where the greatest threat is of the tornado in these. And tornadoes up in northwest Oklahoma, including one headed toward the Winoka area, another down the south of the Woodward area. And then big bow echo, damaging winds, maybe sometimes near the rotating comma head of that bow, possible tornadoes, but a big area heading gradually toward Des Moines, but generally toward the Creston, Iowa area. This will be the second storm that has rolled through there. And all of this associated with the leading flanks of a big cold spinning upper low that brought snow and severe weather to California. Now the jet stream with that beginning to blast its way toward these, in this satellite picture, the green highest top storms adding energy. So as we saw, greatest threat, we only do this as a Weather Channel a handful of times per year for long track, particularly violent tornadoes. And even overnight tonight, the severe threat might stretch to the Twin Cities and maybe down into the west suburbs of Fort Worth tomorrow. With that spinning low, that jet stream pushing into Wisconsin, southeast Minnesota, there could be a tornado there. Spotty damaging wind gusts, a chance of a tornado all the way down the cold front, then into the Houston area. And we'll come back and take a little bit look more at the Torcons tomorrow. There's 6 for the Wisconsin area. So a very stormy night is in store, guys.
All right, our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, thank you for that. And we want to show you right now some live video coming into the Weather Channel from K4, the affiliate out of Oklahoma City.
And right now we're just watching some clouds and looking for something maybe starting to hang down a little bit. We'll continue watching this. Join us.
You're watching Tornado Central right now on the Weather Channel. We are in the middle of a severe weather and tornado outbreak, and we are a long way from this being over. Look at this video, new into the Weather Channel.
This is a large wedge tornado in Langley, Kansas, reported just about 15-20 minutes ago. We are getting live video of this into us, and right now no reports of any major damage. It's kind of in a rural area, but a lot of these thunderstorms will be moving closer to populated areas.
Stay with us as we continue to track this threat next on Weather Center Live. Thanks for joining us. You're watching a special edition, extended edition of Weather Center Live. I'm Chris Warren.
And I'm Kim Cunningham. The time is now 7:30 Eastern and 6:30 Central. If you're just joining us, we're tracking a very dangerous situation and a lot of tornado warnings tonight.
We have live team coverage tonight with storm tracker Jim Cantori, meteorologists Mike Seidel and Eric Fisher, and of course our own severe weather expert Dr. Greg Forbes here in studio.
All right, let's go ahead and show you what we're expecting here today as far as the tornado threat and thunderstorm threat. We are expecting a high threat of tornadoes anywhere from central Nebraska, eastern Nebraska, into northern Kansas, and that's where the white is a high risk of tornadoes and severe storms in this area. Already over 30 reports of tornadoes coming into us, and then red, more isolated or scattered storms all the way into Wisconsin during the overnight hours.
Along with the tornado threat, large hail, damaging wind, of course lightning, and also heavy rain that could be flooding rain at times.
And we're going to watch this tonight and tomorrow as well. As a matter of fact, we're going to have Dr. Forbes joining us now for expert analysis on some of these tornado warnings. Dr. Forbes.
And Dr. Forbes, we see a whole string of tornado warnings already. Where do you think we are right now in this event?
Well, we're certainly into the prime time of the event. It's going to go into the evening and past dark, and that's an unfortunate thing because, of course, tornadoes after dark are a lot harder to see. They can be proved to be more deadly. We're tapping a lot of warm, moist, fast-flowing Gulf of Mexico air all the way up to this warm front. Surface low getting pretty strong now. So a second round of storms here in white, back near the North Platte area, the main round from northwest Oklahoma up into southeast parts of Nebraska. And within that, a number of tornado warnings in southwest Nebraska, as well as from central Kansas down into northwest Oklahoma. Some of these with tornadoes on it. You showed the video coming into this segment with this tornado here. It has gone past the Fallon area now with another tornado on that. It's going to go just south of Salina. So let me show you the zoom in on that one. You can see this storm has a very well-defined hook echo. Tornado likes to sit right inside that notch, probably right close to that little red blob there. So very close to the Smolin area, going to go just a few miles south of Salina, in between Kip and the New Cambria area. So dangerous storm in progress there. Then we'll take a look here a little bit farther down. This is one of the storms, 2 of the storms with tornado warnings in Oklahoma. Dangerous looking storm coming toward Winoka, and a storm with a funnel cloud halfway to the ground here southwest of Woodward. I'll show you that one in the high resolution radar if I hit the right button. There it is. going to go the hook, well-defined, just to the northwest of Waynoka, heading toward the area between Avard and the Daycona area, and another that's come across out of Vici into the area between Mutual and Sharon with a hook and a funnel cloud on that one. So Chris and Kim, just several that I've isolated of some of the most dangerous storms that are out there, along with hail that could be 3 inches in diameter and hurricane force wind gusts that could cause a lot of damage in places yet tonight.
All right, thank you very much. Our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes.
All right, we have several live crews stationed in the worst weather areas right now. We're going to go to meteorologist Mike Seidel in Wichita, Kansas. And Mike, a little bit breezy, those southerly winds coming in. Is it feeling like you guys are going to get some severe weather?
Well, certainly it's humid out here, but the temperature's about 70. But the wind has shifted directions. Let's bring in our National Weather Service warning coordination meteorologist, Chance Hayes, who's been here all day, and we've been noticing how the winds are beginning to back around.
Absolutely.
And what that increases the directional shear, which gives more spin in the atmosphere.
You're absolutely right. I mean, since we've been out here all day long, winds were primarily from the south. Now we're really starting to see them back to the southeast, which is going to increase the spin of those storms.
We've got 2 storms we want to talk about. Dr. Forbes just showed us those on radar and mentioned those. Let's first talk about Salina.
Oh, absolutely. Those folks need to take shelter immediately. There's been a large wedge tornado on the ground for several miles, causing a lot of devastation, and it's moving right towards the community at Salina.
And now south and west of here, Reno and Kingman County is under a tornado warning.
Yes.
We've seen some funnel clouds or had reports of funnel clouds.
Right. The circulation over there isn't quite as strong as what we see up near Salina, but we have had rotating wall clouds and funnels reported intermittently for about the last hour with that storm.
Now, the good thing is so far the damage has been minimal and they're sporadic. They're widely spaced, and they've been in rather rural areas, except now we're concerned about Salina, a town of about 50,000 people.
Oh, absolutely. It has moved through very rural areas of central Kansas. We have had a few damage reports, you know, of a few little homesteads, some power lines, trees, of course, but it could get worse as it gets closer to Salina.
And we're going to go inside, and we're going to be part of the experience. The National Weather Service here in Wichita, one of the 3 or 4 forecast offices working overtime tonight, extra staffing in there. So we'll head inside for our next report and give you a bird's eye view of what they're doing. This is where the warnings come out, and this is where they're following all the action here in this part of Kansas. Kim and Chris, back to you.
All right, meteorologist Mike Seidel, of course, we'll be checking back with you throughout the night.
All right, it's a particularly dangerous situation for severe weather in the southern and central plains.
Stay with us here on Weather Center Live. This is an extended edition. We're going to be here with you all night long as this threat remains. This is already some video we have seen from just a bit ago, about an hour ago. This was in progress, and that storm's still causing some problems right now.
As you're watching your local on the 8th, we want to bring you up to date on a situation today of severe weather tornadoes. 40 of them reported already. We are with you live through tomorrow, keeping you abreast of this dangerous situation.
That's right. That severe weather threat is being realized right now. We continue to get in the latest images and video here at the Weather Channel. And of course, here at the Weather Channel, we have crews out in the field as well. And one of those, of course, storm tracker Jim Cantori, who's live for us right now in Lincoln, Nebraska, where there's currently, Jim, a torcon of 9. You talk about the significance of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, we're sitting north, unlike where Mike is and Eric are east of the dry line, we're up here north of the warm front. So when you have that area where the air converges and you can really increase that low-level shear, you can enhance your tornado potential. But there's so much instability that we had today. We had this huge rainstorm that developed and has pushed across southeastern Nebraska, and the tail end of that has had a few cells pop on it, and really that's what's going on here. But we're what I would call rain-cooled. But should this area leave and destabilize just a little bit, we still have so much forcing off to the west that's to come, that the storms that we see around North Platte that have caused us some damage already are going to come this way potentially later on tonight as they build south. All right, so we have a long way to go, and that's why that torcon is so high, as are other places. But, you know, the key here, guys, is we're not out of the woods, whether it be Omaha, Lincoln, Kansas City, Topeka, all the way south into Wichita, because we're starting to really see this event unfold now with this forcing coming out, and that's allowing some of these tornadoes to stay on the ground a lot longer. And, of course, the twofold problem is it's also going to happen at night. in a lot of these areas. So that's what we're obviously very, very concerned about. So right now, it's mainly been a rain event through here, but the concern, the fact that we were in a PDS watch, one of 3, by the way, that is out right now, that's why they canceled here at Memorial Stadium the game today, the big red-white scrimmage. This is a football scrimmage that happens here. It's been happening since 1950. 60,000 people, obviously very, very disappointed. But you know what, guys? Even though we didn't have a tornado, even though we didn't have a thunderstorm with big hail here, we had so much thunder and lightning that it drove us actually back into our vehicles and into our truck to broadcast from for about an hour and a half. So, I mean, we stayed out here actually far too long for my comfort, to be quite honest with you, but we eventually got back in and got out of harm's way. So we'll see what Mother Nature throws at us tonight, and I caution everyone to keep those weather radios handy. However you choose to warn yourself overnight, you're not going to get that chance to get confirmation. You're not going to be able to look out the window and say, well, there's a tornado because it's going to be dark. So just heed the warnings, because as a meteorologist, I can tell you the potential exists, certainly for these long track ones to go even well past the sunset this evening. Chris and Kim, back to you.
All right, some good points, Jim. And Jim, you mentioned, you know, all the rain that you got. We did get some reports of some flooding even along Interstate 80.
Yeah. Yes, we did. About halfway between here and Lincoln. And you know what? That was kind of concerning, Kim, because we just had the people that were evacuated leaving, heading up toward Omaha, where we had that stoppage on Interstate 80. The good news is that flooding receded enough so that the cars could go on by, and we pretty much had everybody out of harm's way by time the big stuff got here this afternoon with even more heavy rain. So it's been a wild ride, but right now, so far, so good.
All right, Storm Tracker Jim Cantori live there in Lincoln, Nebraska. And also now getting word that we have on the phone with us the gentleman who shot the video that we've been showing you out of Langley, Kansas, that wedge tornado. This is James Skyver joining us on the phone. First, James, as we watch your video, will you talk about what you were seeing, what was going through your mind at the time?
Well, it was definitely the most photogenic tornado of the day. I saw some brief spin-ups probably about 2 hours earlier, there just to the east, to the west of that area. It was this particular tornado there in Langdon. It was ripping up trees, had power lines down over the road, things like that. It was definitely a violent tornado. No structural damage that I'm able to report out of it, though. Real lucky for that one.
And do you know what it's doing at this moment? Any reports of it still being on the ground? Probably not as a wedge tornado, but we did hear earlier that it did continue on.
I currently do not see it. I'm still on the same cell. Looks like it's approaching Salina, Kansas currently, and I currently do not see one on the ground, but it's probably a good, I'm going to say 3 miles ahead of me. I see some funnels trying to whisk down, so Salina, Kansas is under the gun right now. They need to be seeking shelter, and hopefully they have their weather radios on as well.
James, this is some pretty impressive video that we're looking at right here, and you're a storm chaser, so we imagine you've seen tornadoes before. In this particular instance, what was going through your mind when you were shooting this video?
Just keep a good distance, be aware. I was trying to keep an eye on for other vehicles, as well as if there were any residents around that may have been impacted, so I could stop and lend assistance.
So how far do you think you were from this? I mean, you obviously weren't too close, but a pretty good distance. It's hard to kind of see how far away you are from this.
I'd say probably at the closest, maybe about a quarter mile.
Wow. Okay.
All right, James Skyver, Storm Chaser there. We appreciate the video and taking the time to talk with us. Certainly amazing. And again, we're watching these storms fire right now. Several tornado warnings currently in effect, and we have you covered here at the Weather Channel.
And Chris, one of those nights that we could see more wedge tornadoes like that. So please always remember to be ready and know what to look for. We're going to talk about that later on in the show. If you are trapped in your vehicle or where you should go during a tornado warning. There's that video again of the Langley tornado in Kansas. A wedge tornado here. Again, one of the days, folks, that we could see more of these.
We have continuing coverage here at the Weather Channel. We are Tornado Central, and tonight, tracking tornadoes. We have seen a large wedge tornado on video. We spoke just moments ago with the man who shot that video, and of course, we are still tracking storms right now, and here is a look at that video.
That's some scary stuff, and reports of a farmhouse being damaged by this, but it's in a rural area, thank goodness. Trees and power lines down. And Dr. Forbes, looking at this, does it make you a little nervous that we could see more of this here tonight?
Yeah, the fact that we're seeing it before dark and the fact that we could have some of those that we don't see after dark, or at least visually can't see coming, makes them particularly dangerous. And you can see here in the satellite picture, this is visible, so you can begin to see the sun setting there. We're just beginning to see the last visible assemblages of these storms in a line all the way from northwest parts of Oklahoma up into southwest parts of Nebraska, and another round back on the warm front there near North Platte, Nebraska. Still some pretty dangerous storms in progress along there. Number of tornado warnings, the storms outlined in red from near Salina, Kansas, down to near Woodward, Oklahoma, and not far away from North Platte, Nebraska. I'm going to show you several of these storms. We'll start with the Salina storm. That's the one that produced the big, large cone tornado that you saw about probably a half hour to 40 minutes ago. That storm now rotating right over Salina, Kansas. No tornado at the moment, we think, but rotating wall clouds, some funnels heading from Salina up toward Abilene, toward Noble, toward the Smoky Hill area. We now have a tornado being reported with this 3 miles north and east of Salina. Here's the zoom in of the radar. Here is Salina, so the circulation showing up right in here with that taking it very close to the New Cambria area, in between, just a little bit to the north and west of Solomon, heading up toward the Talmadge area. So dangerous tornado-producing storm there now north and east of Salina, Kansas. Then we get down into southwest parts of Kansas and northwest parts of Oklahoma. Big pair of supercell thunderstorms there coming up across near Waynoka, heading towards the Tacoma area, the Cherokee area. This has had funnel clouds, possible tornadoes, and another there near Tacoma, Lambert, Cherokee, and Byron. This one has produced possible tornadoes. That one's near the Quinlan, Oklahoma area at this point. And up in the North Platte, Nebraska area, there's been some tornadoes reported there, either funnel cloud or wall cloud near North Platte. And this storm down south and east of North Platte has caused some damage. It's heading toward the Gothenburg, the Cozad area, yet a third up near Anselmo. So still a lot of dangerous storms out there tonight. Chris and Kim?
All right, thank you, Dr. Forbes. And we have crews in the worst areas right now.
And we want to go now live to meteorologist Eric Fisher in Oklahoma City. He's been in Oklahoma all day long. Hello to you, Eric. And Eric, looking at about an hour away from sunset and another half an hour after that, it's going to be dark. What are your thoughts right now?
Well, you know, Chris, we have the stat that we tell people all the time. If you go into darkness, especially after midnight to the dawn hours, 2.5 times more deadly. The tornadoes that do occur, a lot of people are asleep. Some people don't have ways to get warned. So obviously there is a larger concern when the sun goes down. Here in Oklahoma City, as we track those storms, we may be talking about more of a squall line. We'll have to see how things set up as we head throughout the evening, but it will certainly be after dark here in the metro area when those storms do come through. All afternoon, we've been watching them pop in northwestern part of the state there and around Woods and also Woodward County. Now, they were dealing with tornadoes earlier on this week. You remember that video? The large hailstones coming down, the kid walking through and the deer running. That was Woodward, Oklahoma, so they have had a handful of severe weather all week long. It's been staying in that corner. Slowly that should push through. We had cloudy skies for much of the day. We had a little bit of sunshine here in the afternoon, helping to destabilize the atmosphere a little bit. Looks like it's lagging with the forcing that's off to the west still. Some of that's still out into the mountains. The cold front is still well off to our west. Until that charges through, it's not really going to drive a lot of these storms off toward the east. So that's something we're going to monitor for you all night here in Oklahoma City. And I want to bring in Dr. Forbes for a second here, if Dr. Forbes is available. I want to ask you a question. We saw that warning in Salina, Kansas, tracking that cell, Dr. Forbes. Notice the enhanced National Weather Service wording. Oh, we don't have Dr. Forbes right now. I apologize. We're going to ask that a little bit later on. Stay with us here.
This extended edition of Weather Center Live, this is Tornado Central. I'm meteorologist Chris Warren.
And I'm Kim Cunningham. And if you're just joining us, we are tracking dangerous storms right now. We're going to show you some video of Mustang, Oklahoma. This just in from K4 TV out of Oklahoma and some of the damage that it has done. We've seen, especially in western parts of Oklahoma, we've seen several reports and have heard of several reports of tornadoes. This is actually the Langley tornado.
Yeah, we continue to get in a lot of video here at the Weather Channel, and we try to get it in a situation where we can bring it to you as fast as we can. We'll get you that video here in a moment. In fact, we have it right now. We're going to go back to this video a little bit later. We want to show you the damage now. This is just coming into the Weather Channel, so we're seeing this now for the first time. And and there's a sign of some damage right there. You see the blue tarp on there, and then the debris, breaking up that debris right now in Mustang, Oklahoma.
We're out there pretty quick assessing the damage, that is for sure. Again, we'll probably see more of this as the night goes on, folks. We're expecting actually the threat for tornadoes even to increase in some areas. Already reports of over 40 tornadoes and over 60 reports of hail, even the size of 3 inches in diameter, teacup size.
Our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, has given this area, you can see that white area, that outlined area with that circle, a 9 out of 10, a 9 torcon. That's a 90% chance within that area, any given spot, of seeing a tornado within 50 miles.
And a 7. I mean, we continue all the way through the overnight hours of a torcon very high. So we want to make sure you have a way to be notified. Get on weather.com, notify, and sign up for that service. It could save your life. We'll call you on your cell phone.
And we want to go right now to our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes. He's standing by right now at the expert desk. We want to go to him right now for expert analysis on these storms. Dr. Forbes.
And Chris, with that greatest threat area that we were just showing, we have at least 3 storms right now with tornadoes, some of them large tornadoes. One of them here not very far away, northeast of Salina, Kansas. One just to the west of Wichita, Kansas. Other up in northwest parts of Oklahoma. Other tornado warnings that have had tornadoes at times up in southwest and central parts of Nebraska. So let's start with the storm that's had several tornadoes with it, off now to the north and east of Salina, heading generally toward Abilene, Kansas, the Junction City, the Ogden area. And I'll show you here on Doppler radar. This one has most recently had a tornado just to the north of New Cambria. So the tornado is within this rounded area here at the southwest part of the storm, heading generally there toward the Talmadge area, toward the upland area. The tornadoes like to run right along their south flanks. Then we will hop down, tornado down in the southwest of these storms here near Oklahoma. There's another Doppler indicated tornado possibly toward the Cherokee, the Tacoma, the Jet area. There's been a tornado then on the southern of the storms, heading toward it's been around Cedardale, Bose Junction, heading toward the Togo, the Cheyenne Valley, the Carmen area. And storms we've seen south of North Platte with tornadoes on those. And we have a storm just to the west of the Wichita area here that has a tornado on it as well. That one generally heading from up toward the Haven area. So very dangerous storms. We're getting more and more organization to these. We could begin to get, instead of those brief tornadoes, we could be beginning to get some longer track tornadoes. And of course, as we've been saying, after dark, the tornadoes get particularly deadly. So if you have those no-weather radios, leave those on. Leave the Weather Channel on. You'll hear those tornado warnings coming to you. Kim, Chris?
All right, we'll be with you all night, all the way through tomorrow.
And so will Storm Tracker Jim Cantori. He's joining us now live from Lincoln, Nebraska, where we just saw there's a torcon of 9. Hi, Jim.
Yeah, hey, Chris, and that's going to be something we're going to have to monitor here tonight, certainly, because we're really sitting right in the rain-cooled air. We're north of the warm front, and of course, there was so much instability in through here today. We had thunderstorms just popping up everywhere, and we had this big thunderstorm complex that worked through this area. So it's cool. Even the cloud cover around us is stable at the present time, but we'll have to see if we can see some of these storms with organization and this forcing come up in through Kansas and eventually into Nebraska. We'll see what happens once they get into this stable air, because once you get really southwest of Beatrice, which is about 30 miles to my southwest, you get onto the other side of that warm front. It's a whole different world. So, should that warm front move a little bit to the north tonight, we're obviously going to be right smack dab in the middle of this. But that's the point. That's the point I want to make is whether you're here in Lincoln or in Kansas City or Topeka or even down in toward Wichita and Oklahoma City, there's still so much left to go with this thing. We're still seeing a lot of energy back in the Rockies that's going to be lifting out, as Forbes has been talking about. So we still have a long way to go in through here. So long track tornadoes at night, the worst possible scenario. But we're going to see these come into more populated areas, guys. And I urge you to kind of stay with us. I mean, we've been at this really since noon. We've been seeing these particularly dangerous situation watches come out. We've seen storms come out. They just haven't produced any long track tornadoes till now. And now we're starting to see some of that come into fruition here. But I'm at Lincoln. We came up here today because here at Memorial Stadium, this is supposed to be a big day, the red and white spring football game. People talk about this thing going all the way back to 1950 and through here, but it was canceled today due to the weather. We were in that and still are in that PDS watch, and certainly with the dangers that loomed, a good choice to get 60,000 people out of harm's way. Either way, tons of thunder and lightning and heavy rain. That's been the issue here in southeast Nebraska so far. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Storm Tracker Jim Cantori, live in Lincoln, Nebraska. And we want to show you right now some brand new video coming into the Weather Channel. In fact, this is live video from the helicopter from K4 out of Oklahoma City, tracking some potentially dangerous storms. Stay with us. Our continuing coverage next.
And as you are watching your local on the 8, you are watching Tornado Central here on the Weather Channel. We're going to bring you up to date and keep you abreast of this serious situation in the Central Plains. Right now, we're looking at some raw video around Salina, Kansas.
And what raw video means, basically that means this is video that's just coming into the Weather Channel. We have not had a chance to edit it, so you might see sudden movements, you might see some quick pans and some quick zooms. So basically the camera might be shaky, but what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get the very latest video. We're trying to show it to you, but at times it comes at the expense of maybe seeing some shaky video. But what we can see here is the fact that we do have these storms around today in Kansas. We've seen some pretty impressive storms as well.
And this supercell is the same one that produced the wedge tornado we're showing you video of from a Stormchaser earlier. As this now moves the north and east of town, again, reports of a tornado was on the ground as well in the Salina area. As you can see, the very dark clouds. Hard to tell on the other side of that building what we may be seeing right there. But again, this is some video coming into us out of Salina, Kansas.
And throughout this afternoon and evening, you've been seeing us show you videos and pictures, and we want to remind you as you look at this video, it is your job here not to go out and get video. Once the storm passes, fine, we want to see your video, but if there's a storm bearing down on you, put the camera down, go take shelter. That's what you want to do. We're looking at a very serious and potentially very dangerous situation tonight.
And it's going to get worse as the night goes on, too. As the energy, the upper level energy, the jet gets a little bit closer and moves out here into the plains, we're going to see that potential even increase during the overnight hours. So now is the time to be prepared. Again, we've had over 40 reports of tornadoes already today. And it's just going to get worse the night goes on.
And now we want to show you some video from a little bit earlier here at Tornado Central. This is from the coverage from our affiliate K4 in Oklahoma City. So that's what you're looking at here. We're looking at their coverage peeking in when they had some pretty impressive video from their helicopter at the time, and it looks like a funnel cloud forming.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, very impressive. And, you know, I think people in Oklahoma are very tornado savvy, and hopefully you are watching the Weather Channel and having a way of being notified here over the next 12 hours in case the tornado is headed for you. Again, Norman, Oklahoma, yesterday hit with a tornado.
And we want to bring in right now our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes. He's watching along right now with us as we're seeing this video for the first time. And Dr. Forbes, when you see that, what's going through your mind?
Well, certainly the funnel is getting perilously close to the ground. There's a sort of a rule of thumb that if it gets more than halfway to the ground, the chances are there's some circulation at the surface, although it wasn't totally obvious that we had any kind of dust swirl being kicked up there. But certainly a well-defined funnel cloud there, more than halfway down to the ground. We did have some reports of a tornado with this storm, so chances are if the helicopter panned all the way down and we could see the ground there would be some dust being kicked up by that, likely a tornado. This is down in an area off to the south of Waynoka, Oklahoma, is where the storm is at this point in time. You can still see it's ever so slightly edging its way a little bit down closer to the ground there. So let's take a look here. This is a live shot. Okay, now right down at the very ground there, you see a big wall cloud hanging down. You see a little grayish, whitish spot right down at the ground. Tornado is in progress now underneath this big wide cone with a dust whirl then down at the ground. So tornado in progress down there in the areas just south of west of Waynoka, Oklahoma, northwestern parts of Oklahoma. Here we're live with KFOR TV out of Oklahoma City. They've migrated a little bit off toward their west, and you're seeing just a little bit to the right of that cone there, some of the clouds working their way in counterclockwise, wrapping around this counterclockwise tornado. You see the prevailing cloud base and then that layer hanging down like a layer cake. And there, that's what we call the wall cloud. And then right down there, you see right down above the green there, the green is it's in some forest or over some fields. You're seeing the dust and debris, maybe some moisture being picked up by that tornado right above the strut there of the helicopter, now blocking that right there. You see the circulation. That's a tornado on the ground. Even though the dark funnel doesn't make it all the way to the ground, the wind circulation does. You can see that when we pan down enough to see that grayish area right there at the very bottom of the screen on the ground. There, they're zooming right into it there. So it's picking up dust, some inflow to it. It's brightened up. You can see that dust. It's the wind circulation right on the ground there is swirling dust around, and you can occasionally see some little brighter dust swirls there that are possibly multiple vortices revolving about this parent tornado, but it's a wide cone tornado, probably several hundred yards, maybe even a quarter-mile wide there. That's a pretty big size tornado. So here is the funnel. Then it's dark on my telestrator to draw. Hopefully I'm getting this about right, but the dust whirl there down on the ground beneath that. It's really too dark for me to telestrate accurately without looking over at the monitor. Yeah, there's the tornado in progress right there, just above the funnel that comes down. This over here is something else. That's not likely not another wall cloud. That's probably some low-hanging cloud that are down where one of the rain shafts or hail shafts is coming down, although sometimes you will get multiple circulation centers along a line of storms. This one, I believe, is just a place where some of the precipitation is falling down and is saturating the ground so that you're getting some lower hanging cloud there. Very, very interesting, very, very dangerous storm. Looks like, fortunately, for the most part, it is moving over pretty remote areas. You see there, at times, you see some brighter area. That's a river that it's coming toward. So we're probably in a fairly wooded area, a fairly rural area here down in pretty rural areas of northwest Oklahoma. Tornado being reported. That's the Cimarron River that it's coming close to. All of this is associated with the leading edge of a big cold pocket aloft and a jet stream. Here in the green, you see the big thunderstorm tops as a result of that. We'll be right back after these messages.
You're watching Tornado Central here on the Weather Channel, and you're looking right now at a live video just north of Hutchinson. I believe this is in Kansas.
That's right. And then Stormchaser Austin Anderson is out there right now driving.
Yeah, this is, I believe, north of Wichita?
Yes.
Yeah, Hutchinson, yeah. So we're watching these storms fire up right now. And with these storms, we're not always getting a perfect clean shot because the rain is coming down with a lot of these storms, which does pose another risk. It makes the tornadoes very difficult to see. Also, we're not too far away from sunset, and then we're a little bit more than an hour away from it being completely dark.
And that's when it can get very dangerous. It's twice as dangerous than during the daytime. So make sure you are prepared. Again, this is a storm chaser out there right now, Austin Anderson, taking this video as he's driving maybe towards a supercell that he's hoping to find a tornado there.
And right now we want to go to our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes. And Dr. Forbes, we're looking at a few states here with tornado warnings.
Yeah, we really are. The storms that were not very much hook echoes earlier have gotten this evening to be pretty well-defined hook echoes, including the one that storm chaser is heading toward. You heard us refer to Wichita, Kansas. That's here. Hutchinson, Kansas. That's there. So the most dangerous tornado is in between those, right where this body of the storm takes a dogleg right turn, and the tornado would be sitting right there heading toward the Haven, the Patterson area, the Halstead area of Kansas. I'll take and show you the big picture here. That's this storm here that is northwest of Wichita. There's another one now northeast of Salina. And then the pair of storms that we've been watching with the KFOR helicopter in Oklahoma, and one more up in Nebraska, one over in Iowa that have tornado warnings on those. So we'll start north and west of Wichita. You've seen the zoom in. Here's some of the locations and the approximate timings when it might be getting there, coming from Haven toward the Halstead, toward the Darlington area, moving northeast at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. The pair of storms in northwest Oklahoma, there's Oklahoma City. So the southern one is the one that's had the tornado on that. And we'll zoom in here. That southern storm heading now from the Hopeton area toward the Carmen area as dangerous storms there. The northern storms up around the Capron, the Burlington areas in Oklahoma. One more storm here. This is the storm that went through Salina. It's had a long history of producing tornadoes. Right now, the danger threat is coming toward Buckeye, the Smoky Hill, the Bala area, as it also moves north-northeast, east-northeast at about 50 miles per hour. And well north of North Platte, Nebraska, a bow echo here beginning to have some rotation within that. Damaging winds also a possibility. Fairly rural, but it's heading generally toward the Josie area. And another something similar to that, we're talking now south of Des Moines. This is the second time today a storm has gone through this Creston area. Bow echo in general, but embedded within that bow, a little bit of a circulation such that we could be seeing a brief tornado in this area from Lorimar to Indianola toward the Lacona area. So dangerous storms out there, as well as in places widespread wind damage and in times hail that could be 3 inches in diameter. Very dangerous night, and as the sun sets in this area, tornadoes at night can be particularly dangerous because you can't see them coming, and not a good night to go to sleep if you don't have the notify service from the weather radio or National Weather Service weather radio to let you know that there's a tornado warning on the way. Kim, Chris?
All right, and Dr. Forbes, question for you. You know, eastern Nebraska saw a lot of heavy rain, but you're still thinking, even though they're kind of rain-cooled right now, that it could become more unstable later and get more tornadoes or severe weather in there?
Well, that's a tough question. I think probably most of it will stay south of where the heaviest of the rain has occurred, but with this kind of front that's moving this way, sometimes you can dislodge that warm front and that rain-cooled air. So I wouldn't totally say they're out of the woods, but that's partly why I've gone with the greatest threat that's sagging more to the south of that. Kansas City rather than Omaha, I think, is a bigger threat.
All right, thank you, Dr. Forbes.
And we continue to follow the threat for these storms tonight. This is a particularly dangerous situation for severe weather. And the area we're talking about here is the central and southern plains. Dr. Forbes has been showing us some of the specific storms. And we want to show you from just moments ago the coverage there from K4 in Oklahoma City. The developing tornado is a funnel cloud, which we were watching here live on the Weather Channel, became a tornado. And we're looking on the right at one of those active storms.
And again, not only concerned about obviously tornadoes, but also damaging winds with this bow echo moving east. So be prepared for maybe 60 to even 70, even hurricane force winds with some of these storms as well. We'll continue our coverage.
Right now, this is a live look at a storm near Hutchinson, Kansas. This is northwest of Wichita, and there is a tornado warning right now for this area.
And Austin Anderson is on this, a Stormchaser right now. It looks like he is actually just sitting. It looks like he's not moving at this point. Maybe he's in a good position to possibly see a tornado developing or one there.
Yeah, usually when storm chasers, they stop. They're doing it for their own safety, or they think they're going to have a good shot. We are tracking this storm and the other tornado warnings right now here on Weather Center Live. Extended edition of Weather Center Live. It is 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, and by 8:30 Central, it's going to be dark.
And that's when it's going to get really bad and really scary for a lot of folks. I'm Kim Cunningham along with Chris Warren. If you're joining us just now, we are tracking dangerous storms. Over 50 reports of tornadoes so far today.
And those are reports. Doesn't mean they're all tornadoes. It could be some on the same tornado, but this is Tornado Central. We have you covered here. This here was a little bit earlier. We were watching this live. Our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, was showing us just because you don't see the funnel going all the way down to the ground does not mean it's not a tornado, because it was a tornado. You can see the spin at the ground there. This was to the northwest of Oklahoma City. And when you can see the spin, the rotation on the ground and the rotation in the thunderstorm, that's a tornado. Right.
And you can see a little bit of white down towards the bottom, maybe some dust or debris, or possibly that's what we're seeing here at the bottom of it. Now it's a kind of a tougher shot to see. No, there it is. You can see there we go.
You can see that spin down there.
Wow, look at that. Impressive cone tornado.
This was near Winoka there in Oklahoma, which still, the cell that is still there has a tornado warning on it. And we're seeing those storms, a couple of tornado warnings right now in Oklahoma, a couple in Kansas. And we're also watching severe thunderstorm warnings and flash flood warnings tonight. We're continuing to get in here some impressive video here to the Weather Channel. And this is also very impressive.
All right, our Torcon Tornado Condition Index developed by our very own Dr. Forbes. And it gives you an idea of how serious the situation is. When he puts a 9 on the map, he's giving it a 90% chance of seeing a tornado within 50 miles of your area. So where you see that white area circled, right in that area, right there in Kansas, that's where we have to really be concerned about tornadoes.
And this is an area here, according to the Storm Prediction Center, the red shaded area. Tornado watch. That means conditions are favorable for the development of tornadoes, and we've already seen tornadoes. We've seen the video. We've heard reports of this, and right now the red outlined areas, those are tornado warnings, meaning we're seeing rotation either on radar or someone's reporting it, and that means we're either seeing or likely to see a tornado.
And Dr. Forbes, our expert, is with us here tonight, of course. And Dr. Forbes, you know, looking at the radar, It looks like it's maybe taking a little bit of a break, not seeing as many warnings, but we're expecting this to change later on.
Yeah, some of these storms have begun to move a little bit east, and that takes them a little bit farther away from the jet stream, but I think we'll see some additional redevelopment. You talked about the Torcon, and of course, that's based on weather factors and how well they come together. And one of those factors, a big spinning upper low that's over Arizona, and the jet stream on that south and then east flanks of that really blasts up and comes over top of these red arrows you hear, the warm moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. So where they come together, the green here in these water vapor satellite imageries of the thunderstorms have lit up, and you see the overlap. If I continued the moist air up under that, is where we're getting the worst of the severe weather taking place. And as you were pointing out, each of these storms in Wichita, in Kansas, I should say, including near Wichita, have tornadoes, as does the southern of the two in Oklahoma, and other storms off a little bit north of the warm front in that area. Just off to the west of Wichita here, possible tornado around the Halstead, the Macon, the Newton, the West Branch area. This storm has had a history of producing tornadoes, so be on the lookout there. We've seen video from those. Down into the Oklahoma area, we've seen the helicopter video from that just off now to the near Industry, and then the Burlington area, the Byron, the Waldron area of northwest parts of Oklahoma. Off on the left side here, you're seeing some live pictures from near Hutchinson, Kansas. That's off to the west and northwest of Wichita. The storm in northwest Oklahoma there, the Carmen, Cherokee, Jet, and Nash areas. That's the storm where the helicopter has been showing the tornado on. And then the storm that came through Salina, it's had a lot of history of producing tornadoes. That's up near the Cheever area, the Fragrant Hill, Milford, Ogden, and Manhattan areas right now with the possibility of tornadoes. A lot of storms. There have been tornadoes reported around North Platte. They are beginning to run north of the warm front and losing some of that tornado potential. Big bow echo running east along that warm front, including now the Des Moines area. In some parts of your metro area, you might be getting damaging winds from that surging line, and at times we've had tornado warnings within that. None at the moment, but the surge of that bow coming right from the Winterset to the Indianola, Osceola, the Chariton areas could be over hurricane force winds there. So still central Kansas and south of that warm front in Oklahoma, up in a little bit of northwest Oklahoma, right where you're seeing these tornado warnings, is the greatest threat area with tornado outbreak in progress. Tomorrow, we'll see some of the same conditions that are in near the surface low and the warm front running north. The Kansas conditions today running up in the morning, perhaps to southeast Minnesota and then into Wisconsin. And I've given for tomorrow Wisconsin a Torcon value of 6. The cold front gets more active. It catches up to the dry line and surges east overnight tonight. We'll have some 3s and 4 Torcon values, mostly damaging wind and hail, all the way from Illinois down to Texas. So, Kim and Chris, it is a busy night. We're not done by any means. Tornado threat goes into the night.
All right, thank you, Dr. Forbes, and we continue our coverage here right into the night as well on the Weather Channel.
We'll have live coverage all the way through tomorrow to keep you safe. Again, here's another look at Hutchinson, Kansas.
As you're watching the local on the 8th, we are keeping a close eye on storms that are firing right now here on the Weather Channel as this severe weather threat, this tornado outbreak, severe weather outbreak is underway, and it is far from over.
It's right on cue. Over 50 reports so far of tornadoes. And joining us right now is Dr. Forbes, giving us some expert analysis on a tornado right now that is being reported.
Yeah, Kim, you can make that 51 reports now. Manchester, Kansas, that's southwest of Manhattan, Kansas. So we're talking a little bit northeastern Kansas now. Here's Manhattan. There's the storm. The tornadoes are in the southwest quadrant of the storm. Tornado warning for parts of Clay and Dickinson counties, including the areas near Manchester, and then heading toward Milford, Raleigh, Manhattan, and St. George. Show you the details here. Here is the hook echo that slides south. Manchester is there, so it is pushed now north and east of Manchester. Close to the Industry area is where the tornado would be, and that would take it then toward the Wakefield area and off toward the northeast toward Raleigh and gradually toward the Manhattan area. So just one of many dangerous storms that we've seen today and will continue to see as we go into the night. Kim, Chris?
All right, thank you, Dr. Forbes. We have several live crews stationed in the worst weather areas right now to help keep you safe. We're going to go over to meteorologist Mike Seidel in Wichita, Kansas. Mike.
Yeah, Chance Hayes once again joins us. He's the warning coordination meteorologist here at the National Weather Service. Okay, we've I think we dodged pretty much a real issue in Salina.
Absolutely.
We got some damage reports, but outside of town and rural areas.
Oh, absolutely. We dodged a huge bullet there in Salina. Unfortunately, the path up to Salina, we are getting some reports trickling in, but the city of Salina itself did dodge a bullet.
And now we're watching the cell. Well, it went through into Reno County.
Yes.
What's the latest on that? We're getting a lot of funnel clouds, but...
Yeah, we're getting some rotating wall clouds, some funnel clouds as it's moving into portions of Harvey County and McPherson County. So the folks in those areas definitely need to be taking their precautions and go to their shelters immediately.
And of real concern here in the metro Wichita area, a couple cells just now down south of the Oklahoma line. We've seen that live on K4, the copter out of Oklahoma City. Eric Fisher's been talking about it. Dr. Forbes on it. The timing and your concerns.
Well, we're very concerned because we've seen the wedge tornado on television just like you have and what you guys showed on the Weather Channel. It is continuing to move to the northeast, and we're anticipating that it will begin affecting the Sedgwick County area here in about 2 hours. Right now, it's getting ready to cross the state line into Harper County, so those folks need to take precautions immediately as well.
And hopefully we'll see what we've seen much of this afternoon. Many of these tornadoes are short-lived, or if they are large, they're staying out in rural areas, which, unlike we saw last year with Joplin and Tuscaloosa, it's a very rural area, few and far between farmhouses, and we're not getting the damage.
Absolutely. However, the area that it's moving into in Harper, Sumner, Sedgwick counties is more populated, so we definitely have to be vigilant as we watch those storms.
And you were on the phone just a minute ago again, Sedgwick County officials,
yes,
waiting to hear the word on the Miranda Lambert concert. I checked your Twitter. I haven't seen anything on that. Do you have any information at this point?
Right now, all I've talked to is the Sedgwick County Emergency Management folks, brief them on what we're anticipating, and that's basically on the storms to the southwest in Oklahoma, and I gave them the estimation of time when it would move into Sedgwick County so that they can start making decisions based off of that.
Well, it's getting awfully dark to the south and the west.
It is. We're starting to see a lot of blow-off from those storms. Hopefully it's going to stay out of here a while, but as we start to lose the sun, my hopes are we lose some energy and these storms decrease in intensity.
That's true. The sun goes down, we lose the energy, but we still have the upper level forcing.
Yes.
So this is not a kind of a day where once the sun goes down, we kind of, we're thinking less energy, tornadoes weaken, storms weaken. This is not this kind of situation
It's not that kind of storm system. However, they can weaken a little bit, but we still have the backing winds. We got the upper level support. The threat for tornadoes is still there, no doubt.
Okay. Chance Hayes here from the National Weather Service in Wichita. They've got a shelter inside if we need to get there. We're going to go inside as promised. Once the sun goes down, we can give you a great shot of the nerve center. There are about 6 or 7 folks in there,
yes,
working very hard, getting calls in. You're getting reports from all over.
Oh, all over
EMS, spotters.
Yes, storm chasers, storm spotters, amateur radio operators, the media. We're watching the tornadoes live on television, so it's been a wonderful warning decision process. Getting all this information into that nerve center has helped us do our job much better.
Okay, great stuff. Kim, Chris, we'll be inside next time you see us, and we'll give you a bird's eye view and maybe even give you some breaking weather information inside the building.
All right, thank you so much, Mike, reporting out of Wichita, Kansas. As it starts to get a little dark to the southwest, we'll see what happens here soon.
And here in the satellite center, we're monitoring all of the feeds we're getting in here, and as we do, we see video like this right here, and when we do, we bring it to you as soon as we possibly can.
All right, this is near Winoka, Kansas, or Oklahoma. You can see this thing is developing. You can see the rotation in it.
This is from earlier.
This is from earlier, but we have gotten lots of video of tornadoes here today, even a wedge tornado. This one, at least right now, not looking at maybe on the ground just yet, but this funnel cloud here still looking pretty impressive at this vantage point here in northwestern parts of Oklahoma, where we've seen several tornadoes today.
And the key with this is our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, was explaining. You see the funnel, but you look here. You look down at the surface. Even though it's not connected down, you see the surface. It looks like there's a little bit of white there. That's where it is in contact with the ground, and that is a tornado.
Right, and the reports of even a farmhouse damaged here from this tornado. The good news, a rural area where there hasn't been reports of too much damage from this. I can imagine what it'd be like if it was a populated area.
Stay with us here on the Weather Channel, this extended edition of Weather Center Live. We have you covered. This live severe weather coverage will go all night long on the Weather Channel and on Weather